Oh, no.
Okay, we have to rewind, Jordan, because I know everyone's going to use this, but we all know the deal, right?
All good.
Okay.
So 5 years ago, when we got in this profession, my wife first, and I didn't want to do it. I had bad experience in network marketing before. And so when I jumped on board with her after getting on a phone call, this was the first book that I read in the profession. And look, you can even see where I highlighted stuff in his book. Look at this. So here's the first line that got me. The first thing that I highlighted in the book. You mean I can go to the beach and still make money? Now, if you know me, I've served since I was 7 years old. So when Jordan said that, he was speaking my language. I could go to the beach and still make money. And I actually remember as I got down to the next paragraph, it says beach money means getting paid over and over again for working one time. I mean, so and anyone that's watching this tonight, I'm sure you can kind of associate yourself with that statement. I didn't have that. I was in construction. I kept doing job after job after job. And when I read that line, I was like, man, who wouldn't want to have beach money that allows you to go to the beach or wherever you want to go and get paid whether you go to work or not? Beach money does not mean working hard for your money. Beach money does not mean working smart for your money. Beach money does not mean working for your money at all. In fact, beach money is 100% passive income. And I read this book and I can say, first off, I feel very honored and blessed to have Jordan on here. But I read this book and I was like, man, I want to have what Jordan has. And this is what gave me massive belief what was possible. And there's so much more in this book that you guys are going to learn with us and you're going to take away from his story. But for me, this is a real surreal moment. I don't know, I'll let Francois share, but for me to be sitting here on a Zoom with Jordan 5 years later, and this being the first book I read in the profession that, you know, it gave me perspective. It gave me the ability to see what was possible. But here's a thing that also was very valuable for me was that it wasn't gonna be easy, that I was gonna run into hard times, that I wasn't gonna make $1 million my first year, right? Even though I read that statement after getting through this book, it really gave me perspective that this was gonna be a journey, but the journey was worth it. And as I'll share with each and every one of you, after you build this business long enough, you start building relationships. And through them relationships, through this book, it's brought us to this point where I'm friends, and so is Francois, with Jordan. And he is way better. I mean, the book is amazing. But when you get to know him, you realize why the book is so good. He has a massive heart. He's a brother to me and my wife. He's a close friend. But as I really look at this profession and the relationships that it gives you, that's a beautiful part. And the thing that I want you all to know is that, yes, you get in the profession for desperation a lot of times, but what I'm so proud of Jordan about is the legacy that he's going to live. And this book's going to really live way past him, right? It's going to inspire people, and inspired us to touch over 30,000 lives in just this company and so many more in our future. And that's what we're going to really key on tonight is as a group of leaders, we're going to go through this book chapter by chapter. And I really felt like, hey, there's nothing better than getting the myth, the legend, the star of the show on to kind of give y'all perspective, but also, you know, Francois, through you meeting Jordan and reading his book, what touched you the most about him? Oh,
I know. Well, like right before this, I was sitting there and we just came from an event at Dr. Snyder's and I was just eating something really quick. I was just trying to eat because I haven't eaten all night. And I just sat there and I said, you know, thank you, Jesus. Like, this was the first book. Like, I started in my network marketing journey alone without Ricky. And my first 4 people said no. And she said, read this book, and just seeing how he went through all of the things that I was currently going through was just so powerful, that he didn't give up and he had that beach money. And it just gave me so much hope. So Jordan, thank you so much. This book gave me hope when I wanted to quit. And I tell this story, and a lot of you guys might have heard it, but I just sat back and said, thank you, Jesus. Like, the guy that I've read is the first book that really just changed my business, to say, don't quit. There are people who have done it before, you've walked before you, but they didn't quit. They just kept on going through, right? Just like James 1:12 says, right? Through every trial and tribulation, God will bless the latter end. Like, this was the latter end, and I had to walk through that. And so I'm just so honored. And like Ricky said, we have been so privileged to not only just, meet him through Mastermind, but to become really good friends with him. Like, we went to Vegas and he gave us like the red carpet treatment, like picked us up, took us places, made reservations. I'm like, what did we do to even deserve this friend in our life? And to come on here tonight, it's just, we value you and everything you've done for the profession, the industry that we're in, but also just becoming friends with us and becoming a real friend. Like, I believe that we're going to have stories for years and years to come, and then extending that even further and sewing into our team and our family. So I love you. I'm so happy that you're here today. You're an inspiration to me, my husband, and you are family.
And
So,
anybody that can sell $100 bill at a GoPro event for 3.2 million
I know, right?
on stage, took $100 for charity and stuck it up in the air, and someone paid 3.2 million in the crowd for $100 bill for charity. That is powerful. That is how you can move people in this profession, right? And that equals inspiration and equals the big time income as Jordan's made. So if you've read Jordan's book and it's touched you, put a comment in the chat so Jordan can see it tonight and be encouraged by you guys. So Jordan, he's muted now again. Hold on.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
There we go. There we go. I muted myself and then I couldn't unmute myself. I am so humbled by you two. Thank you so much. That was I think that was the nicest introduction I've ever gotten, and I'm not kidding. So I adore you two, and I feel the same way. I'm truly blessed. Beach money is all over the world, and I didn't plan that. It just it was meant to be for whatever reason. It's all over the world, and it's touched a lot of people, and it's brought us together. And I'm really grateful for that. So thank you for inviting me to be on with your team. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. We were supposed to go up in the helicopter. Was it last weekend or 2 weekends ago? And it was too windy, so we ended up running around Vegas together and having a good time and creating a whole bunch of stories, right? Yeah. So yeah.
And for me, Jordan, this profession has given you a life that everybody dreams of, and it started a long time ago. How long you been in the profession now?
You don't even want to know. I'm not old enough to be having been in the profession for as long as I have been.
Tell us, how long?
I signed up in 1981 for my first company, and it was a herbal. It was actually spirulina, so it was an underwater plant, right, that had been put into little capsules. And I signed up with this like 81-year-old woman that I don't tell the story very often, but I signed up with this 81-year-old woman that I found in the classified ad newspaper. Never sold anything, never signed anything up, but I did. My first network marketing meeting was at a church, and there was a guy on stage or on the front of the room that was in really great shape, and he had products out, and they talked about lifestyle and all that. And I signed up, and I was in that company, I think, for 4 months, never sold a bottle of the stuff, and never recruited anybody. And I quit. And then I joined another company, and that one I think was Network 2000, which was long distance, Sprint long distance service, network marketing, and never signed anybody in that one. And over the course of 10 years, I had jobs. I moved to Arizona from Chicago with a guitar, a suitcase, and $250. I grew up in a lower middle income family, moved to the Phoenix area from Chicago, was staying in a little studio apartment, ran out of money within a week and a half. I bought a little $200 motorcycle, and then went through the $50 in a week, just getting settled in. You can't get settled in on $50. So, but I got little jobs paying me, $10 an hour or $8 an hour. And then was dabbling in different network marketing companies for 10 years, 11 companies. I never signed up a single person, never made a penny. And I have all kinds of stories on that journey, just trying to survive, you know. At the age of 34 years old, I was living in an enclosed garage. My rent was $200 a month. I had 2 roommates that lived in the house. I was living on, and I'm not kidding you, I was living on 3 boxes of macaroni and cheese for $1. You could buy 3 boxes for $1. They were 33 cents a box. And I didn't even buy a stick of butter. I would just, sometimes I'd use water, sometimes I'd use milk. And 3 nights a week, that's what I ate for dinner. And I had a Jeep that was broken down in the street for 2 years. And I joined my 12th company at the age of 34. I joined my 12th company. And in that company, it wasn't the company, it was more that for, 10 years, I had been listening to audios and reading network marketing books. There weren't very many back then. It's not like today where there's hundreds of network marketing books out there and lots of trainers training network marketing, and you can Google search anything and look on YouTube and learn anything you need. That didn't exist back then. Back then, there were like literally you could count them on one hand. And I read those books and I listened to the audios, and I figured out how to set an appointment. I figured out how to give a simple presentation. I was scared, just like all of us are when we're first getting started, but I started giving 3 presentations every single week. And my plan was to give 3 presentations a week for 2 years. So that's 12 a month. My goal was to do 12 presentations a month, to sign up 1 person a month, so that after 2 years, I will have signed up personally 24 distributors. That was my goal. And I didn't meet my goal. I actually, after 2 years, most of my presentations were at a little coffee place on Mill Avenue. And our company, the airline that I worked for at the time, had filed bankruptcy. My pay at the airline was $28,000 a year, and I had employees that worked for me. The airline filed bankruptcy and cut my pay in half to $14,000 a year. So I had a choice. I could lose my job or I could make $14,000 a year. And that's where I was at 34 years old. And so there were people getting laid off, people that were at risk of losing their jobs. So I was grabbing them one at a time and taking them over to the coffee place and sitting them down and showing them what I was doing. And after 2 years, I'd signed up 19 people. Well, my 16th person the first 15 didn't do anything. My 16th person was a lady named Jackie Ulmer, and Jackie was a analyst at the airline, and her husband was an airline pilot. And Jackie, it took her a couple months from the time she saw it to the time she signed up. She was very skeptical. Her husband was very skeptical, but they invited me to their home on Christmas, and we became friends before that. But she invited me to her home on Christmas, and I was with her and her I think she only had 1 kid at that time. And I talked to them and answered questions, and we had a nice dinner, and they signed up. And she had a friend in New Mexico named Judy, who was a secretary and a student. Judy had never done network marketing before. She was married to an airline pilot as well. That was in Albuquerque. And Judy started inviting people over to her home. And within the next 3 years, that group grew to 12,000 distributors and 40,000 customers. That was my 16th distributor. 1 person led me to that. That's how it always works. It's not a lot of people. They say it's a lot of people doing a little. And if you were to look at once a business matures, that's kind of how it is. But it's typically 1 person you sign up that leads you to some other people that the group just explodes. It's usually 1 leg. I'll ask you guys a question, because you've got a larger, how many people do you have total in your organization that have signed up in your organization as distributors approximately, or consultants?
So distributors over 32,000, but
okay,
I don't know the customer number.
Well, that doesn't matter. So it does matter, but I'm not going to ask anything about that. So say 32,000. How many people have you personally signed up in the business approximately in the years that you've been there?
I don't know. Approximate.
Just approximate. How many a month on average, and how many months?
A month, over 400 people. Not a month, but
personal 400.
Mm-hmm.
So 400 people out of the 400. Okay, so that's 100 a year, right? Which is two a month. That's 2 a month,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
100 a year is 2 a month, 52 weeks in a year. 4 years, that's 400 people.
Mhm.
That's doable for somebody working part-time. Now,
Yeah.
here's the magic question. Out of those 400, how many of them, the personal 400, represent 95% of your income? In other words, how many legs out of the 400 represents 90% of your 90 or 95% of your income?
Probably less than 5.
Okay, I want everybody to pay attention to that. Write that down. 400, and there's 5 that are responsible for 95%. I've never asked Ricky and Francois this question, but I can ask 100 people that are making 5 and 6 and 7-figure monthly checks, and they all have the same story, including myself. So when you sign up 10 people or 15 people and none of them are doing anything or they all quit, that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have not found the person yet that is going to do it, because and it's a chemical reaction when it happens. It's like somebody comes in and for whatever reason, who knows why, it's the right time for them. They're well connected. Sometimes it's not even them. Sometimes it's somebody on your third level. You bring in somebody that does very little, they sign somebody up, and then that person signs somebody up, and the first 2 don't do much at all, but that third person is well connected, they're excited, they're willing to go to work, they're willing to take the bullets, all those things, and they go out and build a team of thousands or
So
tens
good.
of thousands. So and so like in my last company, I'd signed up in 13 years. Check this out. This will blow your mind because it's exactly your story. In my last company that I would still be with today, I'd still be there today if they hadn't gone out of business. They were a $1.5 billion network marketing company. And the technology, we had technology, it was a telecom, and the technology became obsolete. So we went from a brand new company, 16 years later, we're $1.5 billion company, and 6 months later, we're out of business. However, during that time, and I want to talk about that for a minute, but in just a minute, over the course of my 13 years, by the way, 13 years is 144 months. 13 years is 144 months. I signed up 129 people in 13 years. This was my first success in network marketing. My 12th company signed up 129 people in 144 months, and 5 of those people were responsible for 85,000 distributors and 250,000 customers. 5. That means 124 people either quit or became customers. 5 of them went on to build teams of thousands. Now, your security, as much as we like to believe our company's going to be around forever, and there's some that are legacy companies that will be around forever, and yours may be one of them. But the truth is, your security is not in your company. It's never in your company. Your security, in terms of business, your security is in your network, not the network marketing business. It's the network that you build. Those are the relationships that you build with people. Those are the valued relationships. Those are the people that you become connected to for life, your friends, not just on your front level, people that are not even in your company. So if you read Harvey Mackay's book, this is an old book, but you might have heard of it. It's called Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive. Harvey Mackay is a good friend of Eric. Have you met Harvey, you two?
Not yet, no.
No. Harvey's written 25 books. Most of them are New York Times bestsellers. He talks about, in his books, he talks about the Rolodex. And for those of you that are under 40 or 45, you might think a Rolodex is an expensive watch. It's not. A Rolodex is one of those things that you find at the antique store where you put business cards in it and you scroll it and it's got business cards and it's a way. So, but Harvey Mackay says that your greatest asset is your network. And he says, if you want to predict the future of someone's income, look at the size of their Rolodex. And that is so true. The most successful people, and it's a gradient that goes like this: least successful financially in business to most successful. The most successful people, the reason they're the most successful is because they've established rock solid relationships with more people. It's not just about signing people up. It's about building those long-term relationships. That's what Ricky and Francois are very, very good at that. And when you do that, that's why you'll find somebody like who's a contractor, or maybe a woman that had a counseling business, for example, and then they get into network marketing. They've never done network marketing and they skyrocket to the top. Like, what is that magic formula that causes somebody to get started in a company and skyrocket with no experience? Here's what it is. They stepped into your company with relationships already built. Now, if you're struggling, that's all that means, is that that's an area that you really need to focus on and master. And so you follow your leaders and help them to allow them to teach you that. And then also there's many great books written about how to do that. Beach Money will help you do that if you haven't read Beach Money. But it's those relationships, it's those connections. So when I'm building my business, it's friends first. Like, I'm not going to become friends with somebody who I don't want to be a friend with. There's a guy in town. I live in a little ghost. I have a home up here in the mountains of Arizona, a little ghost town. And there's a guy in town. I don't want to be friends with this guy. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's certain people you meet that, like, it's always friends first. I'm not looking to recruit them. I'm not like going for the throat. I'm not going for the kill. I'm not going for the sale. I'm not trying to get them as a customer. I'm not trying to schedule a time to show my business. I want to become friends first. And then if it leads down that path, now that can happen real fast. I don't need to wait for months to become somebody's friend. Like, a couple of times, talking to them a couple of times, and we can be friends. I mean, we really haven't known each other very long. We've gotten together a few times, but I consider you two close personal friends. And I have no desire, or I shouldn't say desire. Of course I do. I'd love to have Ricky and Francois in my business, but I'm not, my interest in them, it has nothing to do with getting them in. I just make friends. Doesn't matter if they're in my company, outside my company, interested in a business, not interested in a business. And I'm constantly adding new people to my network. And I'm looking, and then as they come to trust me and I become to trust them, they'll then feel comfortable introducing me to their friends. Right? You see where it goes. So I could talk, but I'll stop. I'm sure you have.
I mean, I wrote 9 different things. So, Jordan, there's so much wisdom and so much experience in that story that, you can say 3 or 4 things in my 30 that just blow everybody's mind because of the length of time that you've been in the profession. So, what was very powerful, 40 years in the profession, roughly, right?
Yeah, it's been 40 years since I signed up in my first company. Didn't make a penny until my 11th year, 12th company. Made my first million 3.5 years into my 12th company.
So that would have been what, almost 14 years in the profession?
14 years. Yeah, 14 years in.
Would you say that it was the companies that changed, or was it you that changed?
No, so here's the thing. Like, it's possible that if I had figured this out during one of the other companies, like, let's say I figured it out on my 5th company. There were a few companies that were really big companies like Amway. But there were a lot of these companies that are involved were smaller companies, and they floundered. But the reason I didn't make it wasn't because of the company. It was because my personal insecurities. I hadn't really stepped into my confidence yet. So one thing that happened that was a huge, I'm a pilot, and prior to all this, I wasn't a pilot. I thought about flight as a dream. When I was a kid, I used to dream about flight, but I was not a pilot. I never got trained as a pilot. And around the time that I joined my 12th company, before I signed up my first distributor, I was on a mountain camping with some friends. It happened to be this mountain, Mingus Mountain, the mountain I'm on right now where I've got this home. Didn't have the home then. Didn't have the home for many, 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 many years after being camping on this mountain. And there was a hiking trail that went up to the very top of the mountain from where we were hiking. And it was like a giant drop off, and there were pine trees that went right up to the edge. And there were like 30 colorful hang gliders set up in the forest. And these pilots were picking the hang gliders up. They're like giant kites, and they hook into the hang glider, and they run off the mountain. And I started watching them one at a time run off the mountain. And I thought to myself, I want to do that. Now I'm making at the time $14,000 a year, and it costs about $500, which I didn't have to get certified to fly. And it's a very painful, it's a hard thing to learn to do. It takes many, many weeks out in the desert. Anyway, it's not something where you just run off the mountain. It's week after week after week in the desert, in the hot desert. So without going into all the details, I saved up the money for a year. I started taking hang gliding lessons, and it was my hang gliding that helped me to develop the real confidence to be able to step into my network marketing business. That was my 12th company, and that's the company that I succeeded, because it's a mental game. You know, Eric was talking about that last weekend. It's a mental game. And everybody goes through the same sets of feelings building. Like, it's like we all have the same fears. We all have doubts. We all have huge setbacks in our life. And just like when I had this dream to fly, and every time I would have a serious setback, like I was spraining an ankle, or I would fall into some cactus and get, you know, a jumping cholla cactus with barbed needles stuck in my leg, or, you know, I cut my shin because I fell over a rock, or the wind blew me over, all this stuff. But I had the dream to fly. I wanted to be able to run off a mountain and be able to soar like an eagle. You know, I wanted to feel the wind in my face. I wanted to be able to feel that freedom. And so I was willing to do that. And there were lots of things to learn, and you have to learn the fundamentals really well. And the mountain doesn't care. Just like, you know, nobody cares about your excuses. You know, when I start blaming the mountain for my death, you know, or blaming the mountain for my injury, or blaming the cactus for my injury, it doesn't work that way. It's like the mountain doesn't care. It's the same in your business. There's laws, you know, there's rules. And as long as you know, hold on to your dream tight and let the other stuff kind of like fall off you, which you're still gonna. So one of the greatest personal development experiences for me, until I started flying helicopters years later, was standing so you go from flat ground to a little berm over the course of the weeks, with hot wind blowing in the desert, to that. Now then you go to a 450-foot little very tiny mountain. Then you go to, after you've done that and you've practiced your takeoffs and landings and your small turns and all that, then you go to the part of the mountain where you drive to the top. And there you set your glider up, and there's somebody that has to drive down to go pick you up, where the landing zone is 5 miles away. So you go from literally a 30-second flight to a minimum of a 20-minute flight, and probably even a couple of hours.
Wow.
And so when you're standing on the edge of the mountain looking down, and there's nothing, you know that there's going to be nothing between you and the ground but air, and it's all on you. You just lean on the fundamentals. It plays tricks on your mind. And it's the same thing in this business. We start coming up with reasons why we shouldn't do something because of our fears. But you always want to make your dreams bigger than your fears. Always make your dreams bigger than your fears. I'm a dream broker. That's what I do. That's my brand. That's what Beach Money is. I'm a dream broker. So what I do is I help people, you know, discover their dreams. And that, by the way, that's my brand. I don't do that for a living. I do it for a living through network marketing, but it's not like I have a coaching business doing that. I don't do that. I leave that to Eric, and because he's good at Todd and the others. But what I do is I help people to dream bigger, stretch their dreams, begin to believe in themselves, but also be willing to step through their fears to reach new levels of confidence. As you step through your fears, you reach new levels of confidence, and sometimes that fear comes back, and it's real. It's real. We all have it. I heard a guy say one time that you're always going to doubt, because we're human and we doubt. We just doubt. So when you're not making any money in network marketing, you doubt if you could ever make $1,000 a month, and it's normal. And then when you start making $1,000 a month, you wonder and doubt sometimes whether you could make 5. And then when you start making $5,000 a month, then you go, I don't know if I could really make 10. I think I can do it. There's other people that have done it, but you have doubts as to whether you can do it. And then when you hit 10, then you're like 20, 25. When you hit $100,000 a month, then you're like, you doubt whether you can keep it.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, is it going to come in next month and the month after? Is it going to be here in a year? But you always have to go, you know what? My security is not in my check. My security is not in my company. My security, as far as business goes, is in your network. It's the
Ooh,
relationships.
good.
So
Yeah.
good.
That's really good. Yeah. So have you ever thought back during them, 10, 11 years that, we watch a lot of people, as Eric would say, be tourists and they quit too fast. They really don't understand that it takes a lot of time to build their people skills themselves. Do you ever think back and go, man, what if I were to quit year 1, 2, 3, 4? And the reason why I'm setting this question up, Jordan has a house in Vegas on the Strip. He has a house in the mountains in Vegas. He has a house, you're seeing him in Arizona. He has a helicopter. You've seen the car that Francois and I took a picture with him. He has multiple cars. He's made tens of millions of dollars in this profession, but all that wouldn't have happened. And most people don't have that grit. I mean, that grit had to be formed.
James Bond, sorry.
I would say that grit had to be formed through some kind of upbringing or something. So 2 questions. Have you thought about it and looked back and said, man, what if I was like most and quit? But also, where did that grit come from?
Okay, I have a couple things. First of all, the truth is I did quit. I quit multiple times. I quit after the first company. I quit. Like, I literally, there was a day, there was a day when I said, I'm not going to do this again. And then 6 months would go by and somebody would present me with something, or I'd trip over something, or I'd read something in the newspaper, whatever. And it would rekindle. My dreams never died.
Desperate.
So I still had the dream. And the truth is, when I looked at the option, I had a choice. I could either quit on my dream. I could either give up on that. That would be one option. Or I could find something that worked in my current situation. And the truth is, when you are, when you don't have enough money to even buy your groceries and your rent, I had no money. I was bouncing checks at First Interstate Bank, like month after month after month. They kept taking my bank card. When you're in that situation, you don't have a lot of options. It's not like you're going to make your money investing, right? Because I didn't have any money to invest. I couldn't start a traditional business. I couldn't buy a franchise. A franchise is going to be a minimum of $100,000. That would be with the franchise fee and getting everything set up. That would be the very minimum. Most of them are $250,000 or more. I couldn't do that. A job wasn't going to get me to my dreams, so what are my options? Like, network marketing was really my only option. I didn't see anything else. I tried to do it selling. Like, this was funny. I applied for a job. I have a degree in landscape architecture. And it sounds impressive to some people, maybe, but
I was thinking,
it doesn't pay. It doesn't pay, at least back then. I don't know about now, but back then it really doesn't pay much at all. And it's many, many years before you start making money. You got to get your license and all that. So I was applying for different jobs just to be able to have some money coming in. And I applied for a job at a fitness center called International Fitness Centers. And they had, at that time, 8 gyms, but they went up to where they had 30 gyms. And the guy's name was James Wyatt. And I went into his office. I had actually a tie and a sports jacket on. And he asked me a bunch of questions. And after the interview, he said, now keep in mind, I'm in my 20s. He said, my early 20s. He said, Jordan, I want to hire you for sales job, but I can't hire you because you're too shy. You're quiet. You're too quiet. You'll never make it as a salesperson. Wow. And he saw I had some. He saw I had some drive, so he invited me to his mansion. He and his wife had this huge home on the side of Camelback Mountain, and it was in the summer. In the summer, the side of the mountain, the south-facing side of the mountain, would get 120 to 130 degrees on the side of the mountain. And it's not like the Midwest where there's dirt. There's no dirt in Arizona. Everything on a mountain is rock, solid rock, kind of a reddish-looking rock, kind of like the color of this wall over here behind me. Right. And so he had a big, probably a 12,000 square foot home on this mountain. And he said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to invite you out. I'm going to give you a pick and a shovel. I've got 36 oleanders that I need to plant up the driveway. I'm going to see if you're a hard worker. So he has me go out there. I have he's in his air conditioned home with his wife. He puts this big jug of water out there, like this huge canteen of water thing that has ice in it, but the ice is melted in no time. and I'm taking this pick, and the pick is like sparking off the rocks. It literally took me 7 hours to dig one hole for one plant. He wanted 36 of them. Like it was chipping rock out of the ground in order to be able to plant these plants. And I must have lost 20 pounds that day, right? And
Wow.
so he told me afterwards, he said, okay, I see you're a hard worker. I'm going to hire you. Now, what ended up happening is I started selling 3 memberships a month at the fitness center, which was less than $1,000 a month in income, and they let me go. And so that was hard on my self-esteem. But there came a point where there were so many people that I had to prove to, including James Wyatt, who I did. I had to prove to my father. I had to prove to the sales team at America West Airlines, and it's a whole nother story, but I had to prove to all these people that I could be good, you know. I didn't, and my confidence grew the more I read and the more I got around successful people and all that. And then in my 12th company, I finally just said, you know what? I just need to put my blinders on, and I need to commit to this for 2 years, no matter what.
Wow.
No matter what.
Wow.
Rather than quitting like I always did. Quitting is not a great formula for success, guys.
Absolutely not. And I mean, I think your story speaks to that more than any story I've heard in network marketing. Hey, I just commend you for actually making it that long. I mean, I know you quit along the way, but you never, I guess we need to find out how you were so, I guess we know, I mean, you were so broke, you had to do network marketing. I think that's a lot of the problem with network marketing. People have something that is paying the bills, right? So they can easily fall back into their day job or their current traditional business, and this becomes back burner. And they don't, it's really not out of desperation. I was desperate to get out of construction. It was not,
Right.
I was not going back. And a lot of people have something they can go back to, and they might be unhappy, but they're fine with it. What do you think has been your greatest obstacle in network marketing, and how did you overcome it, Jordan?
Obstacle. You know, the truth is it's my thoughts. It's our thoughts. That's the biggest obstacle. It's what we focus on. So like, I'll just give you an example. Imagine a fly buzzing against a window in your living room, and the fly's trying to get out. The fly knows how to fly. The fly does not need a better how to fly coaching program to get out of the living room. The fly just needs to fly 10 feet in the other direction towards the wide open door. So one direction is struggle and death, because we all know what happens to a fly when it flies against the window for too long. Eventually it gets tired and it ends up on the windowsill dead. We've all seen dead flies on the windowsill. 10 feet away, there's a wide open door, and that's all the fly would have to do is shift its focus, and it could effortlessly fly to freedom. One direction represents struggle and death. The other direction is effortless. So what does that mean though? That means it's what the fly focuses on. So like anything that has to do with obstacles, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. The obstacle is just something that you focus on that is like the fly buzzing against the window. So as soon as you take your attention off the obstacle and fly in a different direction, fly in the direction that your leaders are trying to point you. Like I'm trying to get the fly to the window, and it's just why it's not fly towards the window. I'm like, I'm the coach. I'm going, go over here, not over here. This is over here. You're going to die. This over here is effortless, but I can't get the fly to do it. Wow. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're doing that with your people. You're going, come over here. Stop doing that and come over here. As soon as you take your attention off the obstacle and focus on in the direction that leads to freedom. And the direction that leads to freedom is everything they're telling you. The book, read the books, listen to the audios, listen to Francois and Ricky. They're telling you what to focus on. And if you focus on that, it'll be a much easier journey. Wow. Yeah. So you can learn like in terms of the how to, I mean, truth be told, I love Eric and Marina, and at the same time, they teach the same stuff over and over again. And it's the stuff that we teach, but they also teach you to focus on the right things. But in terms of the how to, most of the time, it's the how to is not the issue, is not the problem. But yet that's what everybody wants. Everybody they grab their notepad and they sit in the training or on Zoom
Yeah.
and they're taking
Yeah.
notes and they're writing down like, how do I do it? 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 And for 3 years, nothing changes. Right. Because it's not about that. Although you have to do it, you talk to 30 different top earners and they're all doing it differently. It's not so much that, it's the things like the fundamentals, like having faith. It's the fundamentals like doing the work, like consistently doing whatever it is, right? It's the fundamentals like stepping into your confidence. It's the fundamentals like letting go of your fears, even if it's just for a moment. It's all those kinds of, that's the thing, that's the shift in focus versus what am I doing wrong? That's what most people do. Like, what am I doing wrong? So let me share one that I'm dealing with. I'm going to share just a real life one. Do we still have time, Ricky?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, of course.
Who's liking this? Give them
Yeah.
a 1 in the comment.
One in the comment if you're liking this. Are you that fly, right? That might be hitting that window seal, right? Does that relate to you? Because I'm just listening to that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I was last week, I was hitting that window seal and finally
Yes.
did that shift. But I love that analogy, like how you explained that. It was just so good because I mean, we've all seen that fly.
Yeah, and we all go there. Like I'm doing,
still, right? And it's like,
I'm doing it now. So like, let me give you an example. I've sold 1 million books.
Yeah.
I should have 500,000 followers on Instagram. I have less than 10,000 followers. I get 3 to 5 followers a day. And I'm like beating my head up against the wall because I'm doing everything. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And that asking the question, what am I doing wrong, will never get you where. That's like continuing to beat your head up. So I've got to take a lesson from my own training and step back from it. And like, what do I need to focus on to make this effortless? Because, I look at Jefferson Santos with 300,000 and his posts are good, but I've got a bigger worldwide footprint than he does. But at the same time, he's got 300,000 followers and I can't get to 10,000.
Yeah, it's so it's like a pay to play. It's algorithms. It's so much bigger than that now. It's so crazy. It's so hard,
But the point that I'm trying to make is that like I need to obviously focus on different things. So that's a shift in focus I need to make. So whenever I see myself struggling in something, I go, I'm just like a hummingbird that slipped into the living room that's trying to get out through that window, and I'm getting frustrated, beating my head up against the glass. And there's a little door 10 feet away that if I just shifted my focus a little bit, I could fly out effortlessly to freedom. That's what I do. And then I go, what's that focus? Rather than what am I doing wrong?
So good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how big of deal do you think, or do you think recruiting is the most important thing? Is that what you focus on the most?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Think about it in terms of a plant, like a forest. If the trees don't eventually have buds on them, and if they don't drop seeds, the forest will die, right? So it's always about like green buds on the tree. You always want to have green buds on the tree. Those are new people. You're always going to ask the question. This is a question that if you are struggling, you should write this question on your mirror. Who's next? Always, every day. Who's next? And if you're looking for a great I am statement that you can put on your mirror, I am signing up new customers and do you call them distributors in your company?
Yes.
I am signing up new customers and distributors daily. I am signing up new customers and distributors daily. And always ask that question, who's next? So like if I find myself, and this happens to me, like I sign up new customers and distributors every single day. Like I've been doing this for years and I'm still signing people up every day. However, many of those people are coming to me because these are people, a lot of them that I've known for years. I've built relationships with thousands of people and they all know who I am. And I do my very best to treat them great because they're my friends. I look for opportunities to look for ways to add value. I make sure that I stay connected to them. I compliment them with sincere compliments. I send them gifts. I do things that I try and do my very best to be of value to them in their life. I connect them to other people that I feel like they should meet. And so what happens is when you have a few thousand people like that you're doing that with, and you've been doing it with for years, every week somebody comes to you, every day almost somebody comes to you and says, I want to sign up. That's just kind of what happens. I mean, you guys get that too, I'm sure. People that just say, I've been watching you and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do
So-
it long enough, right?
Well, yeah. So yesterday, I had a great day yesterday. Yesterday, I signed up $550 in monthly subscriptions just yesterday. Those are monthly subscriptions, $550. And that was people that I didn't have to go prospect. They came to me. There's people I knew, but they know what I do. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. I was going down one path and I ended up going in another direction. What were we talking about? Do you remember?
You were the question, what was it?
I don't even know.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was just thinking about his good
Drop
day.
it into the comments if you remember what we were talking about.
I
I
know,
got
right?
completely off.
The question was recruiting, but then
Oh yeah, recruiting. Yeah. Green, like always ask who's next. Because you don't have a business unless you're growing. So if I find myself where I have a week where I feel really stagnant, then I'm starting to ask the question, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Think about water. Water when it sits. What happens to water when it sits and it doesn't move? What happens to it?
Evaporates.
Well, some of it evaporates, but it'll also get really stagnant.
Yeah.
And it will start to smell. It's stagnant. And your business will die when it's stagnant. So you want to create growth, and growth happens through the movement of water in life. Think about in life the movement of water. Water evaporates up and it rains, it feeds the soil, it causes plants to grow, but it requires movement. It doesn't happen when the water is sitting. It happens when the water is moving. So, and we're made up of 98% water. So you want to be moving. You want to be moving through people, meeting people, creating conversations, moving through presentations, moving through signing people up, moving through training people, moving through connecting people, all those things. You want to be moving like water. I know it sounds a little corny, but motion, water in motion creates life. And so if it sits, it's stagnant, and there's death in water when it sits stagnant. Just like our bodies, we lay on the couch and we don't move. What happens? We start to die. Our cells start to die. We need to move as human beings. And so your business is the same way. It's a living, breathing organism, and it needs to be in motion. So you're the one that's going to create that motion.
And after 40 years in the profession and the tens of millions you've made, you still recruit, right?
I'm still, yeah, at least every week I'm bringing in new customers and new affiliates. Yep. Every single week.
And is this your point of view? We've been in for 5 years, but when you see people, distributors or people in your organization that start to get, frustrated, it's usually because stagnation, just like you're saying, the water's not moving.
Yeah, they stop jumping on the calls. They stop talking to people about their business. They get sidetracked. Yeah, they lose their energy. Right. So it's a mental game. It's like your job. You're an entrepreneur. This is your business. It's your job to generate the energy, to generate enthusiasm, to generate motivation. It doesn't happen. It's not something that happens on the outside of you. It happens inside you. And the truth is, this is why you may have heard me say this, or you've heard other people say it. You cannot make your decisions to build your business based on how you feel. We're human beings and our emotions go up and they go down. And a lot of times there's days where you don't want to work. And I know, Ricky, you and Francois, on the days you don't want to work, you get up and you do the work because it's on your calendar and you've got people depending on you. But when you don't have people depending on you yet, just like your kids, right? You've got kids and you can't just get up one day and say, I don't feel like taking care of the kids today. You can't do that because of your commitment. And so it's a commitment. It has to be a commitment. It's your commitment that should be the driving force in your business. And you'll generate enthusiasm. You'll generate energy by following through on your commitments. And so I teach people, don't quit on a bad day. These are the fundamentals. These are the things that you should focus on. Don't quit on a bad day. Make your decisions based on what you're committed to, not based on how you're feeling. Right? Because there's going to be so many days where you just don't feel like it. It doesn't matter what level you're at. There's days that I wake up and go, ugh, I just don't feel it today.
Yeah.
But there are times where once you've earned it, you got a, $75,000 or $100,000 monthly check, and it's going to come in whether you go to work or not. There's days where you go, you know what, I'm going to the beach today. But most of the time you're going to make your decisions based on what you're committed to, and that will serve you over the long haul.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, it's just a numbers game in this profession, right? The more that you talk to people, the more percentages you're going to recruit. And the saddest part for me in the profession is seeing so many people with so much ability, so much personality, so good energy, but just decide not to talk to people, and they don't recruit. And it's like, this company is only 4 years old, so they're only been in the profession max 4 years. So, some people that you look that could be just as big as us, big as Jordan, all they have to do is just talk to new people, right? Talk to people consistently, and it becomes sad. I got a question here. What was the one thing you did that kept you positive and helped you through the tough times?
Great question. I'm going to answer that with a story. So I was at an event. I'd never been to the Virgin Islands, but for 10 years, I'd been telling people I'm going to the Virgin Islands, but I'd never been to the Virgin Islands. And I was at an event, it was not a network marketing event. It was a training event on communication. And there were about 500 people, and I was sitting in the audience, and the speaker on the stage said, consider that your dreams they're not alive. They do not exist unless they're on your calendar. This changed my life, by the way. What I'm going to share with you right now completely changed my life. So I opened my calendar. Now, keep in mind, I've been talking about going to the Virgin Islands for 10 years, and I'd never gone. It was July. That October, I opened my calendar, and I wrote on my calendar October 3rd through October 11th. I crossed off, and I wrote Virgin Islands. So what happens when you write something on your calendar? You start going, how's it going to happen? Who am I going to be with? How am I going to pay for it? How am I going to get there? All those where am I going to stay? All those things. And so guess where I went on October 3rd for the first time was the Virgin Islands. Well, now I've been there probably 10 times since then. I've been to the British Virgin Islands and the US Virgin Islands. And I've learned something. It's not just about the Virgin Islands, but when I wanted to become a pilot, a helicopter pilot, I learned that I have to do 4 things. I need to first think it. What do I want to do? Second, I got to write it down. Third, I got to trust the process. And fourth, I have to see the job through. Those are the 4 steps to achieving any dream, guaranteed 100%. Think it, write it down, put it on your calendar, right? Trust the process, because there's people that have done it before you, and you're going to doubt, and you're going to have fears, and you're going to question whether you can accomplish it. There were 100 times or more that I questioned and doubted whether I could actually really get my helicopter license during the process. So you have to trust the process. And finally, the last one, this is the toughest one for most people, see the job through. Don't quit until it's done. Don't quit until it's done. So I learned that formula through the Virgin Islands experience. And then ever since then, I've done that. Like, I'm going to space. I'm scheduled to be the first network marketer to go to space on Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic Civilian Space Program because of that formula. Because of that formula. So
powerful.
Think it, write it down. And writing it down doesn't just mean writing it down, it means putting it on your calendar, even if it's just the first step. Like, let's say you're making $35,000 a year at your job, and you want to buy an airplane. Well, you're not going to buy an airplane on $35,000 a year. But what you can do on $35,000 a year is you can go down to the airport and tell them you want to be a pilot and take a discovery flight for $250. You could do that. You could take your first lesson on $35,000 a year. So, I'm just using those as examples, but you could meet with if there's a trip you want to take that let's say the trip's going to cost you $15,000 and you don't have $15,000. You can still meet with a travel agent, get all the details. You can still put it on your calendar, right? You can do all those things. So do the things you can do right now, because you want to feed the things that inspire you. So if there's something that inspires you, you want to begin to feed those things. And part of feeding it is to actually get into the process of moving towards it. Again, remember, it's movement. It's like water. You want to move towards your dreams. Even if you can't go all the way there right now, it's okay. Just start to move towards your dreams.
That's awesome.
Like let's say you couldn't afford a house like Francois and Ricky yet, but you could maybe build one arch. So, build an arch, build an arch in your little house,
Silly. Oh, man.
So how long ago did you write Beach Money now?
2008. So it's what's that?
13 years old.
13 years old. And then I wrote my second book, Better Than Beach Money, about 3 years ago. Yeah.
So I'm going to put the link in the comments, guys. Everybody needs to click on that link, because as a team, we're going to go through this book. It's 24 chapters long, and we're going to go through a chapter a week, and then we're going to talk about it. We're going to bring on people that are on the team, the leaders that are in this. They're going to, and then we might bring on Martha, Amanda, say what they took away from it. And we're going to go over that chapter. We're going to go through this book. This book has made me millions. So he paid it forward. He left a legacy. And then you got, we get these in the mail that make me cry. He's good at this. And I was going through to see how many chapters, because we're going to do this as a team. And this is going to be the first one we go through chapter by chapter by Jordan, Beach Money. There's a question and answer in the back. It's so many questions that, as I was flipping through here, that you struggle with, that you get to hear from someone who's made tens of millions of dollars. And this one right here, he already hit on, which is good. I have been with my company for about 6 months. I've only signed up 4 people and nobody's doing anything. I'm not sure I really will have what it takes to motivate people. So listen to part of his answer. And I hope you can kind of gain how valuable this book's going to be for you. First of all, you're in the same boat as every other network marketer that has ever made money on the planet. All of them at one point had sponsored 4 that did nothing. In fact, statistically, most people find that their magic number seems to happen between 20 and 30 personally sponsored distributors. You may get lucky and sign up a mover and shaker early on, but most people don't. You have to pay your dues. You hear that? That right there is worth the book, the answer to that question. Because like Eric says, most are going to be tourists. But as Jim Rohn says, you go out and you talk to 10, you're probably going to get 1 if you follow a system and use leverage. But if you get 3, you make $1 million a year. You bet 3 out of 10. So you got to talk to 10 to get 1. That's what you should say to yourself. I got to talk to 10 to get 1. Or you can do what Jeff Roberti says. Everybody says no. I got your $5. Thank you. I got your $5.
Yeah.
So as you heard Jordan tonight, he sponsored hundreds. How many customers and distributors have you sponsored now?
Oh, in my career, 700 distributors and probably about the same number of customers, probably 1,500 total. But in my current company, I've signed up just under 600 personal. In 17 years, though. I've been with my company for 17 years.
Wow.
And it's all been worth it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So-
I know it's been an hour, but it's been so much information, so
Yes.
much wisdom, so much heart. Jordan, we love you. I'm sure
Love you
that
too. Thank you so much.
I'm sure these leaders have found so much value, and this book will change your life. And, you can sit on the beach and make money.
And please, I'm not begging, but I'm trying so hard to get to 10,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah. They're all following you. They put
Thank you.
They put your IG info in there.
Oh, good.
They're hitting follow.
Good.
You'll definitely have a fan club.
A few.
Or you can
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Followed you. We love you, Jordan. That was amazing. I really
Awesome.
learned so much in such a short amount of time. You have such a gift to speak. You really do. And
Thank you.
so much wisdom that comes
Laura,
along
if
with
you're
that.
still on, put his IG.
They did already. But
No,
it's-
someone's asking for
oh,
it.
okay, yeah. It's in the chat.
Beach Money. It's at Beach Money Jordan.
There you go. At Beach Money Jordan.
Jordan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ricky and Francois. I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. And we're gonna fly next time.
That's
right.
Okay, guys.
right.
Love you,
Bye,
brother.
everybody. Thank you. Love you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.